Just 1 minute ago, the future King of England made a decision that insiders say could permanently fracture the royal household. In a move described as cold, calculated, and deeply personal, Prince William reportedly ordered Camilla to stay away from the children's wing of the palace, an area fiercely guarded and emotionally sacred. But what could possibly have happened behind closed doors to trigger such a drastic command? Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. The words were not shouted. They did not need to be. Those inside the palace say the instruction was delivered with a steadiness that made it even more powerful. No raised voice, no dramatic confrontation echoing through corridors, just a calm directive that landed like a thunderclap. Staff members, accustomed to carefully measured diplomacy, reportedly fell into stunned silence. It was the kind of moment when people exchange glances but dare not speak, because they know something irreversible has just occurred. The children's wing has always been more than a physical space. Within palace walls, it is considered a sanctuary and emotional safe haven built around Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. It represents innocence untouched by internal politics, a protected world where the burdens of monarchy are kept at bay for just a little longer. To be barred from that space is not a minor adjustment to a schedule. It is a boundary drawn in bold ink. It signals that access to the future of the crown is a privilege, not a right. What makes this order so explosive is not only who it targeted, but who delivered it. Prince William has long been known for restraint. Measured. Careful. Strategic. He does not move impulsively. Every public gesture is calculated. Every word weighed. For him to act with such immediacy suggests something far deeper than a fleeting disagreement. Insiders whisper that earlier in the day, there was a private exchange tense, clipped, and unmistakably strained. No official statement will ever confirm it, but those familiar with the palace atmosphere sensed the temperature shift. In recent weeks, subtle signs had already begun to surface. Shorter interactions. Smiles that did not quite reach the eyes. A careful distance during family appearances that most observers would miss, but not those trained to read between royal lines. It was as if an invisible thread had tightened, pulled to its limit. And then, suddenly, it snapped. What makes this moment feel intensely personal is the emotional undercurrent beneath it. This was not about hierarchy, not about ceremony. It was about protection. About instinct, about a father who has spent years learning from the pain of his own childhood and vowing, quietly, that history would not repeat itself. The urgency of 1 minute ago adds fuel to the fire. It suggests escalation. It suggests immediacy. It suggests that whatever crossed that invisible line did so abruptly and decisively. Inside those ancient walls, loyalty and love often collide in silence. And today, silence carried more weight than any public announcement ever could. But to understand why William drew such a hard boundary, we must first examine the quiet tensions that have been simmering beneath the surface for months. Long before today's explosive command, palace insiders were whispering about subtle shifts in atmosphere, strained smiles, shortened visits, and doors quietly closing a little faster than usual. Something had changed between William and Camilla, and those closest to the family sensed it. What began as minor discomfort gradually transformed into something far more serious, something that now appears to have reached its breaking point. At first, the distance was almost invisible, a missed shared lunch, a delayed response to an invitation, seating arrangements adjusted at the last minute without explanation. To the public, everything looked polished, harmonious, perfectly royal. But inside those walls, tension has a way of traveling through silence. It lingers in pauses. It shows itself in who stands beside whom and who no longer does. Family gatherings reportedly became shorter. Conversations that once carried polite warmth grew clipped and formal. William, known for balancing diplomacy with duty, began to appear more guarded. Not confrontational. Not dramatic. Just cautious. And caution, in royal language, often signals something deeper. Those present noticed that when Camilla entered certain discussions, William's posture shifted. His responses became measured to the point of detachment, It was not hostility. It was distance. At the center of this growing divide were the children. Parenting within a monarchy is a delicate equation tradition on one side, emotional protection on the other. Insiders suggest there were disagreements about boundaries, about access, about influence. Nothing explosive at first. Just differing views about what role extended family should play in shaping the next generation of heirs. But when those differences involve Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, even minor friction carries enormous weight. Catherine's presence during this period became quietly significant. She did not publicly challenge anyone. She did not issue statements or create scenes. Instead, she tightened her circle. She became more visibly protective, more deliberate in ensuring that decisions about the children flowed through her and William first. Observers noted subtle but telling changes, fewer informal overlaps, more structured schedules, carefully managed interactions. It was not confrontation. It was reinforcement. Behind the scenes, staff were reportedly instructed to adjust routines. Visits were rescheduled. Access points clarified. Timetables rewritten without detailed reasoning. The instructions were calm but firm. No accusations attached. No public explanation offered. Yet within palace culture, such adjustments speak volumes. They signal a recalibration of trust. Meanwhile, Camilla's involvement in areas traditionally overseen by William and Catherine appeared to expand. Some saw it as enthusiasm. Others viewed it as overreach. What unsettled insiders most were whispers about unsupervised interactions, moments that may have seemed harmless individually, but, collectively, sparked unease. In an institution built on protocol, ambiguity can be more destabilizing than open conflict. For William, the pressure was not just political. It was emotional. He carries the memory of a childhood shaped by public scrutiny and private fractures. He understands how subtle tensions can ripple outward and land squarely on young shoulders. Those close to him say he wrestled internally for weeks, balancing respect with responsibility, patience with protection. The conflict was not loud, but it was relentless. Each restrained exchange, each adjusted schedule, each silent recalculation added weight to an already heavy crown in waiting. And beneath the surface calm, something was building. Not anger, not yet, but resolve. A realization that compromise has limits when it comes to his children. And then, according to insiders, came the moment that changed everything. What exactly happened inside the children's wing remains tightly guarded, but sources suggest it was enough to make Prince William's expression turn from restrained diplomacy to unmistakable resolve. There was no shouting heard through the corridors, no public confrontation, just a sudden shift, a closed door, and shortly after, an order that sent shockwaves through the palace. According to those familiar with the sequence of events, it began with an unscheduled visit. Not unusual on the surface, family members move freely within certain areas, but timing is everything inside the monarchy. The children's wing operates on structure, predictability, and carefully guarded privacy. That afternoon, Camilla reportedly entered without prior coordination. It may have seemed harmless. It may have even been well-intentioned. But intention and impact are not always the same. A staff member, positioned just far enough away to remain unnoticed, is said to have overheard fragments of a private exchange. Nothing explosive, no raised voices. But the tone, they claim, carried weight. A question asked that felt intrusive, a suggestion offered that crossed an invisible boundary. And in that brief interaction, something shifted. When William was informed, the details did not need embellishment. The mere implication was enough. Those who know him say his protective instinct is not dramatic, it is immediate. It is quiet. It is absolute. In that moment, the future king did not see hierarchy. He did not see politics. He saw his children. And when one of them reportedly appeared unsettled, confused by words that should never have been complicated, William's restraint dissolved into clarity. Not rage. Not fury. Clarity. Catherine was informed almost instantly. There was no delay, no attempt to soften the narrative. Whatever had occurred demanded transparency between them. Insiders describe her reaction not as emotional outburst but as sharpened focus. a mother's resolve, a silent confirmation that lines must be respected. Within minutes, conversations that had once been theoretical about boundaries, about access, about influence became urgent and real. What makes this moment so pivotal is not just the incident itself, but the speed of its aftermath. Within the hour, William issued a directive. It was not framed as punishment. It was framed as protection. Camilla was to stay away from the children's wing. Not temporarily for the afternoon. Not until tempers cooled. But until further notice. The language, according to insiders, was calm yet immovable. This was not open for negotiation. Why such finality? Because for William, this was not a misunderstanding. It was confirmation. Confirmation that the uneasy feelings building for months were not imagined. That subtle discomfort had substance. That boundaries once gently suggested now needed to be enforced. He had allowed space for adjustment. He had chosen diplomacy over confrontation again and again. But when it comes to his children, there is a threshold. And once crossed, it cannot be uncrossed. Inside palace culture, such a restriction carries enormous symbolic weight. It signals that trust has been tested and found fragile. It communicates that access to the next generation of the monarchy is sacred territory. And most importantly, it reveals that William is no longer willing to rely on polite assumptions when the emotional well-being of his children is at stake. Yet even as the directive echoed through private channels, those closest to the family understood something deeper. This was not merely about one conversation or one unscheduled visit. It was about accumulated tension, inherited wounds and loyalties that have never been simple. Because beneath the calm delivery of that order lies a history far more tangled than one afternoon inside the children's wing. But this wasn't just about one moment, it was about years of complicated loyalties. For Prince William, the crown may be destiny, but fatherhood is sacred. Those close to him have long said that nothing, not even royal protocol, comes before his children. And today's order makes one thing painfully clear. When it comes to George, Charlotte, and Louis, he is willing to risk internal backlash to protect their emotional safety. To understand the force behind his decision, you have to look backward before you look forward. William did not grow up in an ordinary household. He grew up in a world where private pain unfolded under public scrutiny, where whispers traveled faster than truth, and where the emotional weight of adult conflict often settled on young shoulders. He learned early that titles do not shield children from tension. If anything, they amplify it. That lesson did not fade with time, it carved itself into him. The shadow of history is never far from his thinking. He knows what it feels like to be caught in the middle of loyalty and division, to love both sides of a fractured dynamic, to smile for cameras while confusion churns inside. Those memories are not political, they are deeply personal. And when he senses even the faintest echo of that atmosphere forming around his own children, something in him refuses to remain passive. This is not rebellion. It is prevention. Catherine has been central to that transformation. Their partnership is not just romantic, it is strategic, grounded in shared intention. She understands that the future of the monarchy rests not only in ceremony but in stability at home. Insiders say she has stood beside William not as a silent observer, but as a steady force reinforcing their shared boundaries. No dramatics, no public gestures, just unity. And unity, in a palace often defined by quiet factions, is powerful. The children themselves are more than beloved heirs, they are living symbols of continuity. Prince George carries expectation on his small shoulders. Princess Charlotte embodies composure beyond her years. Prince Louis brings lightness into an institution often heavy with tradition. William sees in them both the promise and the vulnerability of the monarchy's next chapter. And he understands that the psychological toll of palace politics begins long before adulthood. A misplaced word, an uncomfortable exchange, a subtle tension felt but not explained. These moments linger. For years, William perfected the art of diplomacy. He balanced respect for hierarchy with loyalty to family. He absorbed discomfort without reacting. He allowed space for adjustment. But fatherhood changed the equation. It sharpened his priorities. The diplomat became a defender. The measured heir became a protective father. And when those roles collided, there was no hesitation about which would prevail. The emotional stakes now outweigh the political consequences. He knows his decision may ripple outward. He knows it may strain relationships already delicate. But some lines, once seen clearly, cannot be ignored. Protecting his children is not a strategic move, it is an instinctive one. And in choosing that instinct, he has signaled something larger about the kind of king he intends to be. One who values emotional security as fiercely as constitutional duty. Yet while William's resolve hardened, Camilla's position inside the palace suddenly felt more uncertain than ever. For years, Camilla carefully navigated her place within the royal hierarchy, earning trust, avoiding confrontation, and solidifying influence. But today's directive draws a stark line. To be restricted from the children's wing is more than symbolic, it is strategic. And insiders say it marks the first visible sign that her access within the inner circle may be shrinking. Inside a monarchy built on proximity, access is everything. Who stands where? Who is invited in? Who is quietly kept out? The children's wing is not simply a corridor or a cluster of rooms, it represents continuity, vulnerability, and the future heartbeat of the institution. To be denied entry into that space sends a message without a single public word being spoken. It signals a recalibration of trust. And in royal language, recalibration often precedes something larger. Almost immediately, new internal protocols reportedly began circulating among staff. Schedules were clarified with sharper boundaries. Approval processes tightened, movements documented with greater precision. None of it dramatic enough to trigger headlines, but significant enough to shift the internal rhythm of daily life. The tone was professional, even calm, yet unmistakably firm. This was not temporary confusion. It was structural adjustment. At the center of this quiet storm stands King Charles, caught in a delicate balance between loyalty to his wife and acknowledgement of his heir's authority. Those close to the palace describe the atmosphere around him as cautious, measured, almost heavy. He understands symbolism better than anyone. He knows that when the Prince of Wales draws a boundary, it is not impulsive. It carries intention. And intention carries consequence. For Charles, every response risks tipping the scales toward unity or toward fracture. Within palace circles, subtle factions have begun forming, not openly, not dramatically, but perceptibly. Some view William's action as decisive leadership, a modern father protecting his children in an institution that once blurred such lines. Others see it as a destabilizing signal, one that could weaken internal cohesion at a time when stability is paramount. The tension is not loud, it is strategic. Conversations are held in measured tones, behind closed doors, where loyalty and ambition quietly intersect. As for Camilla, those who have observed her closely describe a reaction that was outwardly composed but inwardly shaken. She did not challenge the order publicly. She did not attempt immediate reconciliation. Instead, she maintained poise, a skill she has refined over decades of navigating scrutiny and controversy. But restraint does not erase impact. Being restricted from the children's wing is not a small matter. It subtly alters her standing within the most intimate layer of royal life. Outside the palace, there has been near silence. No official statements. No visible cracks. The media, unaware of the full depth of what has transpired, continues reporting routine engagements and ceremonial appearances. Yet beneath that polished surface, the turbulence is real. It simmers. It lingers. And silence, in moments like this, is not proof of peace, it is evidence of careful containment. The larger question now hangs in the air, unspoken but impossible to ignore. What does this mean for Camilla's long-term role within the evolving monarchy? Is this a temporary boundary born of emotion, or the beginning of a broader shift in influence? Because in royal dynamics, small exclusions often foreshadow greater realignments. And if that wasn't enough, the ripple effects began spreading beyond the palace walls. What may seem like a private family dispute is rapidly becoming something far larger. Because when the future king publicly or even privately limits the queen consort's access, it sends a message, not just within palace corridors, but across the monarchy itself. Is this a turning point in royal power dynamics? Inside an institution built on hierarchy, symbolism carries enormous weight. William's directive did not require a press conference to resonate. The mere fact that the Prince of Wales drew a firm boundary around the children's wing subtly signaled an assertion of authority. It suggested that while King Charles wears the crown, William is already shaping the culture of the reign to come. Not loudly, not rebelliously, but decisively. For decades, transitions of influence within the monarchy have been gradual, almost invisible. Power shifts through mentorship, through deference, through time. Yet this moment feels different. This was not ceremonial evolution, it was protective intervention. And in that intervention, observers sense a quiet but unmistakable shift. The heir did not wait. He acted. That alone alters perception. Within royal circles, perception is everything. The idea that there could be divided leadership, even subtly, creates tension. If William enforces boundaries that directly affect Camilla, it inevitably places Charles in a delicate position. Support his son and risk appearing distant from his wife. Support his wife and risk undermining the authority of his heir. Neither choice is simple. Neither is without consequence. Behind the scenes, public relations advisors are reportedly recalibrating strategies. The monarchy thrives on unity. It depends on the image of cohesion, especially during transitional eras. The last thing it needs is speculation about fractures at the top. Every upcoming engagement, every joint appearance, every carefully phrased speech will now be analyzed for hidden meaning. A glance held too long. A gesture withheld. Silence where warmth once lived. Advisors, insiders say, are urging caution on all sides. They understand that what began as a private boundary could evolve into a public narrative if not carefully contained. The fear is not scandal, it is storyline. Once headlines begin framing this as a power struggle between generations, the nuance disappears. And nuance is what the monarchy relies on to survive internal strain. At the heart of this tension lies a deeper cultural clash. Royal tradition has always prioritized hierarchy over emotion. Access was determined by title, not by personal comfort. But William represents a modern approach, one that places emotional well-being above inherited privilege. In drawing a line around his children, he is not rejecting tradition outright, but he is reshaping it. And reshaping tradition can feel threatening to those who built their authority within its original framework. The monarchy's unity has always been fragile, even when it appears solid. It survives because members understand their roles and rarely challenge them openly. But when roles begin to overlap, when fatherhood collides with protocol, when loyalty competes with instinct, the structure feels pressure. That pressure may not crack immediately, but it leaves stress lines. What makes this moment so high stakes is not the restriction itself, but what it represents. It represents a future king defining his boundaries before ascending the throne. It represents a younger generation quietly asserting that emotional safety matters as much as ceremonial order. And it represents a royal household adjusting, perhaps uncomfortably, to that new philosophy. Yet for all the political calculations swirling beneath the surface, those closest to the situation know this story is not driven solely by power. Beneath the strategic conversations and cautious headlines lies something far more intimate, an unresolved tension between individuals bound by loyalty, history, and expectation. But behind the political tension lies an even more personal confrontation waiting to unfold. Late in the afternoon, a closed-door conversation reportedly took place, one described by insiders as measured but icy. There were no raised voices, but every word carried weight. Prince William, calm yet immovable. Camilla, composed but clearly taken aback. This was not a negotiation. It was a boundary being drawn in unmistakable terms. The setting may have been private, but the implications were enormous. William's tone, according to those familiar with the exchange, was steady and deliberate. He did not circle the issue. He did not soften the edges. His language was firm and final, carefully chosen to leave no room for reinterpretation. This was about limits, about space, about protection. And once spoken, those words could not be withdrawn. Camilla, accustomed to navigating difficult conversations within the monarchy, reportedly questioned the severity of the restriction. Was this truly necessary? Had something been misunderstood? Her response, insiders suggest, was controlled yet edged with disbelief. After years of carefully rebuilding her place within the royal structure, to suddenly find herself restricted from such a central part of palace life, was more than inconvenient, it was destabilizing. But William did not waver. At the heart of his message was a single, unyielding phrase: the children's well-being. He did not frame it as accusation. He framed it as responsibility. The emphasis was unmistakable. Everything else, protocol, perception, hierarchy, was secondary. In that moment, he was not speaking as the heir to the throne. He was speaking as a father. And that distinction changed the entire atmosphere of the room. Beneath the civility of their exchange, emotional undercurrents ran deep. Years of layered history hovered between them. Unspoken tensions, complicated loyalties, the knowledge that every word carried echoes beyond that door. Even without raised voices, the intensity was palpable. Calm can be more powerful than fury, and William's restraint only sharpened the impact of what he was saying. Catherine's presence, though quiet, added gravity. She did not interrupt. She did not escalate. But her support was unmistakable. It was a united front, measured, unwavering, aligned. For Camilla, that unity may have been the clearest signal of all. This was not a fleeting reaction fueled by emotion. It was a shared decision, a joint boundary. And that made it harder to challenge. Notably absent from the conversation was King Charles. His absence added another layer of complexity. Whether intentional or circumstantial, it underscored the generational shift unfolding in real time. The future king was asserting his authority within his own sphere, defining terms that directly affected the queen consort. Without Charles in the room, the exchange felt less like mediation and more like declaration. When the discussion ended, there were no dramatic exits, no visible fracture, just a quiet understanding that something fundamental had shifted. The directive stood. Access to the children's wing would remain restricted. The finality of it lingered long after the door reopened. In royal life, where compromise is often the default, final decisions are rare. This was one of them. And yet, even as the palace resumed its outward composure, those closest to the situation understood that this conversation was not an endpoint. It was a catalyst. Boundaries once drawn create new dynamics. Alliances adjust. Emotions settle or simmer. Because when authority is asserted so clearly, it reshapes relationships in ways that cannot be undone overnight. And as night fell over the palace, one pressing question lingered: what happens next? The monarchy has survived wars, abdications, and scandals, but sometimes its most defining battles happen quietly, within its own walls. Prince William's order may not have been delivered publicly, but its implications are profound. Has a new era of leadership already begun, one where protection replaces protocol and emotional boundaries override tradition? What makes this moment so powerful is not the noise surrounding it, but the silence. There were no official bulletins, no carefully choreographed appearances to smooth speculation. And yet, within the private architecture of royal life, something shifted. William did not wait for ceremony to grant him authority. He stepped into it naturally, almost instinctively, not as a rebellion against his father's reign, but as a declaration of the kind of leadership he intends to embody. Calm, protective, unapologetically clear. For years, observers have speculated about when the future king would begin shaping the monarchy in his own image. That question may now have its answer. This was not a symbolic gesture for cameras. It was a deeply personal decision with institutional consequences. By placing his children's emotional well-being above traditional hierarchy, William signaled that the next chapter of the monarchy will not simply replicate the last. It will evolve. Catherine's role in this evolution cannot be ignored. Her strengthened presence beside William has become more than supportive, it is foundational. Together they form a unified axis around which the next generation revolves. In shielding George, Charlotte, and Louis from internal friction, they are not isolating them from responsibility. They are protecting their stability. That stability, they believe, is the bedrock upon which lasting leadership is built. A future king shaped by security rather than strain carries a different kind of strength. Meanwhile, Camilla faces a quieter transformation. Stripped of proximity to the children's wing, she is reportedly recalibrating her influence within the palace. Not retreating, not confronting, but adjusting. In royal life, adaptation is survival. Whether this restriction proves temporary or becomes an enduring boundary remains uncertain. What is clear is that her role within the inner family circle has been redefined, at least for now. King Charles remains at the center of this delicate recalibration. He must balance loyalty to his wife with recognition of his son's authority. It is a tightrope few could walk gracefully. His silence on the matter speaks volumes. Sometimes neutrality is not avoidance, it is strategy. By allowing William's decision to stand, Charles may be acknowledging that the monarchy's future is already taking shape under his son's steady hand. To the public, nothing appears dramatically altered. Engagements continue. Smiles are exchanged. Headlines focus elsewhere. Yet beneath that polished exterior, the institution is subtly reshaping itself. It is redefining what access means. It is reconsidering how emotional boundaries fit within centuries of rigid protocol. These changes are not revolutionary in appearance, but they are profound in effect. The lingering uncertainty is impossible to ignore. Is this a temporary cooling of tension, destined to soften with time? Or is it the first firm step toward a permanently restructured inner circle? History suggests that once boundaries are drawn in the royal family, they rarely disappear without consequence. They linger. They redefine relationships. They establish precedent. In choosing to act decisively, William has demonstrated that the monarchy's survival will not rely solely on tradition, it will depend on adaptability. He has shown that strength does not always roar. Sometimes it stands quietly and refuses to bend. And in doing so, he has offered a glimpse of a future crown shaped not just by duty, but by deliberate compassion. Because in the royal family, the most powerful declarations are rarely made at a podium, they are made behind closed doors, where loyalty, love, and legacy collide. And today, Prince William made his choice. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.